This is Autoline This Week, the show that gets you inside the global automotive industry. Autoline This Week partnered with the Consulate General of Canada in Detroit to produce this episode.
Hi, I'm John McElroy, and welcome to Autoline This Week. Today we're going to talk about the new work situation that everybody has encountered ever since COVID hit. So many people are working from home these days, but can we continue to do that after things get back to normal, whatever normal is? We're going to get some answers today because I've got a fascinating expert in this regard. Laura Jones is the Director of Global Talent and Corporate Staffs at General Motors. And Laura, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me, John.
I got to believe this is nothing that General Motors or probably any company had anticipated. I mean, was there any talk of working remotely to the degree that we've got, or to any degree whatsoever, before the pandemic hit?
Definitely not on the scale that we've seen. We've always had, some roles that could be done remotely. We were doing workplace transformation and taking the cubes away and having more of that neighborhood effect in a pre-pandemic, but everything that we could have imagined has just been accelerated. And I think that the main thing has been, I take myself, for example, I used to go in every day. I had my office and I had my team. I do a corporate role, an office worker role. Never would I have imagined that it could have been done so differently to what it's been today, and really forcing us to focus on performance work and working of the impact of the work. So I think it's actually been an enabler in many ways to things that we'd been lightly touching upon in a pre-pandemic state.
So many of the different companies that I've talked to have been amazed at how good productivity has been. In fact, in many cases, productivity has gone up. Is that what you found at General Motors?
Absolutely. And I'll caveat that with it is a balance, because you can also find that the commute times and stuff have been just taken back from people, and so that they're investing that in work. But generally, productivity and engagement, people are innovating and finding new ways to do everything in a different fashion. And for me, it's rooted in empowerment and trust of our people, and people have just, every single person has stepped up to the mark. We didn't miss a beat last year, whether it was, car releases, whether it was program rollouts. We onboarded thousands of people in a virtual environment. Nothing was missed, and no one got a playbook. They just innovated and got on with it.
How do you go forward in this sense? You and I grew up in the old world. Everybody would come into work and spend at least 8 hours a day there, and you'd get to know your fellow workers. You'd walk down the hallway, maybe bump into somebody. You'd be at the coffee machine or meet somebody else. A lot of spontaneous ideas and creativity might come out of those chance meetings and things like that. What are your thoughts going forward? How do you maintain that kind of spontaneity and creativity that comes from people interacting with one another?
A couple of things. One, you can call this the great experiment, right? It's forced us into that creativity. We're trying to extract from leaders, and we've had these discussions. Actually, they're already doing it now. So what have they been doing that we can just not lose? And one leader shared with me that during this, it's kind of, stiff upper lip, let's get on with it. We're making it work. But actually what we've created is something that can be sustained. And so we're leaning in with the leaders to say, what is that? And a lot of it is around pause and be intentional and think about, okay, what's the moment that I need to create that generates a belief for someone that they're a valued member of my team? The moment, the how can now look different, and we've been doing things differently. We've recruited a ton of people virtually. We've had virtual internships. How we do it is a little bit different, but we are doing it today. And that's what we're trying to lean back into the leaders. We don't want it to then be following safety protocols and stuff that offices can reopen. Let's just not lose this year or so and forget what we have learned. So that's where we are at the moment. I would say a lot of it is intentionality. The how can look very different, but if you think about a lot of the things, even with conference calls, they've become broader over the years. We really need to create the space for leaders and teams to take a step back and think, oh yeah, we have done this. This is working, and don't lose sight of it versus just roll on back into the office and forget like this last year's not taught us a ton of lessons.
I imagine for new hires, this aspect of what we're talking about is the most challenging because they're working remotely. They're at home. They're not running into people.
Yep.
How do you bring new hires up to speed? How do you get them to know who their fellow workers are and the almost ad hoc relationships or processes that might exist?
A lot of it's been with intentional management. So when we first looked at turning our internships virtual last year, we've never done that before. We actually talked to a couple of companies that were even pre-pandemic, a work from home type of company. And they do it. They did it before the pandemic. And we said, okay, how do you do this? Teach us here, because usually it would be get everyone into a large conference room and network, have a name tag. And they really helped us give some insights on you have to create these intentional interactions. You have to be a bit more planful. And, so what we were doing is the intentional one-to-ones, giving people a list and setting them up with these interactions, team events that are a bit more curated. And the thing that I'll say there with these team events, you can put everyone on a group conference call, but you might get crickets. And so, it's a little bit daunting where you just see the Brady Bunch on the screens. And so what we really teams have been leaning into playing catchphrase, quizzes. I hosted a pub quiz, for example, that gets people going. And then on these virtual platforms, the chat feature has been fantastic because some people feel a little bit shy speaking up in these remote settings, and it's very daunting, but putting a comment in the chat is a bit of an outlet, and they are listening. So been very intentional and very curated. I will also say what we found with the newer talent coming in, they're so tech savvy on all of these different platforms. They actually showed us in many ways, and they really embraced it. So a lot of that changed the belief for us that it can be done in a different fashion.
That's fascinating. They were showing you. Can you give us an example?
Just with a lot of the Teams features. So Microsoft Teams is a new platform for us right now, but we have the things of whiteboarding and sticky notes and all of that. What they were leaning into was, hey, let's play catchphrase or Pictionary or something on the shared whiteboard. It's like, that's a thing. But it is, and we were playing the game. But they have all of these tools and use them in college in different settings already. And so I remember one of my team meetings, we literally were playing Pictionary virtually on a whiteboard, and that was one of our newer talents that came in and showed us how to do it. So it was a small example, but just one of those where you go, why not? Let's try.
Yeah. So going forward, how do you think things are going to shake out here? I imagine there's going to be a lot of people at GM and people at all kinds of companies that are going to say, you know what, can I continue to work from home? Are you going to allow that? How do you see it shaking out?
I'll say it on the top line, and we talked about this, the work appropriately. The thing that we are very keenly aware of is that we have to move the culture forward for everyone. We can't just have the office workers and be wherever you want to be, and we have the majority of our workforce that is on site, and their jobs just don't allow it. So we have to maintain laser focus on moving the culture forward for all. But for the people with roles where they can have more flexibility, we're really trying to make leaders lead through this, and they are. I mean, it's been fabulous to see, and not to have a one size fits all approach, because what works for some people and maybe their role is more can be done flexibly, you then overlay personal preference. We have people that home life, or they live alone, it mentally isn't great for them to be off site, and so they're saying, we want to come in. Okay, we'll enable that. But then at the same time, we have people that are looking and saying, I have a 2-hour commute and this isn't going to work for me either. So what can I do there? We really need to think about the work and the type of work that can be done. But then on the other side, really make sure that we are living an inclusive environment. And so the not the concern, but the thing that we are also aware of in that is where you have hybrid. Because if you have people on site and some people off site, and I've worked abroad, I've managed global teams. Sometimes the worst thing is being that person on the phone. And, there's the people in the room, the shuffling of the papers, and you just can't hear. So we're stressing to teams, okay, a team meeting, if you've got a global team, everyone's got their laptops open. It's not in the conference room looking at the big screen and you've got the people trying to get a word in edgeways over the phone. So that is the hybrid situation is going to be very, very interesting. And we're really leaning into meeting etiquette, inclusion norms. How do you make the space, meeting times? So we've got that. So regardless of whether you have a preference for on-site or off-site, we can include you. And then for our teams that are, their work, the majority of their work is more conducive to being on site, we're looking at clustering activities. There is a lot of on the job training, experiential learning that has to be done, maybe team meetings or wall walks, turning some of those virtually, clustering those activities in the day in a different fashion, and being enabled by virtual tools. How does your day look a bit differently? But we're also going to focus on improving your environment on site so that because you have to come in, your workplace is better too. So it's not a one size fits all. And sorry, I rambled there for a second, but it's very multidimensional.
No, don't worry about rambling, because I find this fascinating. And everybody's trying to learn how to do this. It's not just General Motors. It's not just the automotive industry. It's society in general has got to learn how to move forward on this. I'm glad you mentioned work appropriately. That's the tagline GM is using to describe this whole approach. Just as your dress code, you came up with the term dress appropriately. I find that so fascinating because historically General Motors has been such a top-down, command and control, process-driven, rules and regulations kind of company. And all of a sudden it's like, just dress appropriately, work appropriately.
Yep.
How'd you come to that decision of just leaving it somewhat ambiguous?
It was an evolution, I will say, and it was not a full top-down approach. So we asked our employees, and when you start digging into the verbatims, and we generated personas, and to then say how would you solution from a technology, from a leadership, from a hiring standpoint for everyone, to your point, you then start listing it all, and it's so vast. And even within one leader, they have multiple personas of people whose works are just totally conducive. And you very quickly can go down that rabbit hole. And we really then just stopped ourselves and said, okay, well, what is the culture? We want a culture. We want to innovate. We have 8 GM behaviors, and one of them is innovate now and look ahead. And it's on me. So, screaming empowerment. And you just check yourself and then say, okay, well, we're writing all of these, if this equals this, and if that equals that, and, all these decision trees and policies. And we very quickly stopped ourselves to say, is this empowering? Is this exactly, we've been talking about leaders leading and employees feeling empowered to generate new ideas in the company. The one thing I'll say, we also keenly realize that during any form of crisis, General Motors is a company, and what we can achieve is, I call it magical. It's such a cheesy word, but I think it's magical when the perceived bounds are off, what we can do. And so we really just checked ourselves to then say, well, if we can do that, then why can't that be the gold standard? To your point, John, on dress appropriately, it's ambiguous to drive that intentional dialogue. And that's where we had the related, well, there isn't a one size fits all. Let's drive this provocative, intentional dialogue to have teams connecting with each other. And we tested it. So we used a design thinking approach. And part of that is, fast testing. So we were testing it around with employees and saying, what does this mean to you? And they're like, I love it. I love it. I can deal with this. And you're like, wow, this is great. And, and then we were talking with the senior leadership team and they embodied it too. So it was a natural iteration. And I think it's a testament to the culture that we are, striving towards. So it came together very nicely.
I got to believe your employees love it because, you're putting responsibility to them. You're putting trust in them.
Yep.
And instead of saying, here's the rule book, read it all and do what it says.
Well, exactly. We're all adults, and I know that one of my managers there, her son said, well, why do you have to teach adults how to behave? And, kind of like, why do you have these rules? But when what we'd been hearing through our listening tools and stuff throughout this COVID time is, to your point, it's trust, it's empowerment, it's, I can do my work when, how, and where I need to be to get it done. I know my goals. We've got a lot of innovation. We've got a very aggressive growth strategy. If people have that higher why serviced around them, we can create and we can do things. We have to set them up with tools and technology as an enablers. We do have to have some policies with relates to, okay, if someone's working in a different state, does the leader dictate how many times they travel in? Do they pay for it? Does the employee pay for it? Those things we're working through, because we do have to have employees talk to each other, right? So they, if it's one rule for one rule for the other, we do have to have some elements of consistency and to abide by, tax laws, etc. But it was just trust. It was, you could just see the light in people come to life. And even last week when we had the leaders in and you just opened up the conversation, they're ready, they're ripe. And it wasn't okay, HR, what have you got for us? What policies and procedures are you going to roll out? We stepped back, let the conversation ensue. And it was wonderful to see.
I'm curious, how is this working outside of the U.S.? GM's a global corporation. Are you finding differences in different regions?
To a certain extent. Now, when we were, getting to this work appropriately, at the senior leadership level and always in the cross-functional work teams, we had the global voice. The other thing outside of the U.S. that we couldn't ignore is you do have employment law. So if you give one person the ability to work remotely for one day, in some countries precedent can be set. So those HR leads and teams are working that balance. But I've actually been so impressed by how they are embracing it in a different way and challenging, cultural norms, thinking about things differently. I was talking to one of our teams in Korea during this, and they did an entire car launch reveal virtually at the time, and they included the employees. Usually those events, you've probably been to many of them, kind of you have a set guest list and you bring them in. And he was saying, Laura, we sent the link out to our employees, and so they're seeing things being done in a different way. So consistently, every single location is embracing. Canada and Mexico, they're really out there and setting the charge. It's been very, very impressive to see, and we're sharing all of those best practices internally, but knowing that those countries have other employment laws that we don't necessarily have here.
Hmm. I imagine too, one thing that you've got to be hyper aware of is cyber intrusion. I mean, if you're calling a meeting at the GM headquarters and you're sitting around a table, you know who's there.
Yep.
But when you're inviting all kinds of people to participate remotely, who knows who's sitting in on the meeting potentially? I got to believe this was part of your planning.
Absolutely. And hats off to our IT organization. I mean, they didn't skip a beat. I mean, even when they've had these kind of plans in place. So when we went virtual and so forth, we have VPNs here, so my internet is totally locked. The other thing that they did is really push the bounds of making sure that the tools and technologies that we have to enable, and their overarching umbrella is work smarter. So they really leaned in with educating us, releasing quick and easy tips, and they're still doing so today on how to use Teams. For example, we can't just go off and set up our own individual Zoom accounts because it isn't secured. But instead of saying don't do that, we don't need to because we have Teams. So full testament to IT that for people way smarter than I am, they've kept our information safe as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier of making sure it's fair for everyone. As you pointed out, the people in the facilities at the plants, I mean, if you work on the assembly line, you got to be on the assembly line. If you're a designer who works with clay models, you got to be in the design studio. If you're an engineer who's doing durability testing, for the most part, you're probably going to have to be at the proving grounds. How do there might be some resentment of those kinds of employees saying, hey, wait a minute, they get to work from home. I don't get to do that. How do you compensate or how do you account for that?
So what's been interesting, and when we did the global listening survey, we didn't get the sense of resentment. And I'll say I was fully expecting it. It was, I know my work and I know where I have to be. So I know what I signed up for. So there was that point there, which was pretty encouraging. But back to my earlier point, we are very keenly aware the resentment would come if all we do and all we talk about is office workers. And yay, look at you, you can do everything over Microsoft Teams. So we cannot and are not doing that. So it's this overall, we have to move the culture forward for all. So for example, if you're on the line and that is it, how can we make your life and bring some certain things to you? Facilities can, and I know one of our other countries, they did parking a little bit differently, so it was closer to the childcare facility, and therefore, it was just integrating work and life in a different way compared to me, who can answer the doorbell or get a package. So that makes a difference, making sure that the facility quality, the environments that they're in, are they nice to come into? So we've got that. Then on that middle ground, so you cited the clay modelers, the people in the proving grounds and testing, looking at those activities and saying, are there other ones? Maybe it's doing the data runs, and maybe it's just stepping back and looking at the model. Can you video it? Can you do the data runs from home? And can you cluster those activities in your schedule in a way where maybe the Friday is more of a flexible day? And then, so they're the ones where we really do have to lean into, and intellectually we found people absolutely get it. The emotional will come out is if all we do is message office work, remote work, flexible work, and not talk about in balance what we're doing across the spectrum. But the thing I can stand here and say is we are doing things across the spectrum. We just need to be very transparent and open with people that it isn't a one size fits all. We get your work, but we are going to move and commit to moving the culture forward for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Are there other companies that you're out looking and seeing? Is there any benchmarking that you can do in this regard, or are you just crossing the river by feeling the rocks with your feet?
It's funny you say that. We've been every company, big or small, we've been talking to them. So my leader, our CHRO, they have CHRO roundtables. There's business roundtable. We have the conference board, and so we've been talking with other companies. The consultancy firms have been advising, what others are doing. I think I feel confident that we're on the right footing. The thing that is I'm really pleased about is that when I then talk to our leaders, they are innovating, and so I actually feel like we're in a pretty good position. But it's the constant toggle: look in and look out, and we're doing that check and balance. We have been, and we will continue to do so. But I haven't found someone with a silver bullet to date.
Because we're all learning.
We're all learning.
Laura, I want to thank you for taking the time. This is a fascinating topic. I think anybody watching today can relate to it because we're all going through it right now.
Yep.
But again, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
And I want to thank all of you for having tuned in.
Autoline This Week partnered with the Consulate General of Canada in Detroit to produce this episode.